You're about to watch the World Cup, but do you actually know how it works? Why it only happens every 4 years? How a team even gets in? Or why winning it is considered the single greatest achievement in all of sports? By the end of this video, you'll understand all of it. This is the World Cup, explained from the very beginning. The story starts in 1930. In a single city, Montevideo, the capital of Uruguay, a French football official named Jules Rimet had a dream, a tournament where the best national teams in the world could finally compete against each other. Up until then, international football barely existed in an organized way. So FIFA, the sport's global governing body, decided to make it real. Uruguay was chosen to host the very first World Cup, partly because they were the reigning Olympic football champions, and partly because they offered to pay for everything. 13 nations showed up, and every single match was played in that one city. That first tournament came down to a final between Uruguay, the hosts, and their neighbors and rivals, Argentina. In front of a roaring home crowd, Uruguay won 4-2, becoming the first World Cup champions in history. It was the perfect beginning, the host nation lifting the very first trophy on home soil, and it set the stage for what would become nearly a century of football history. So why every 4 years? FIFA designed the World Cup to be rare on purpose. Qualifying for it takes years of matches, and giving the tournament that 4-year gap makes it feel like a global event rather than a regular season. It mirrors the Olympic cycle, and that scarcity is a big part of why it matters so much. There have been only 2 exceptions in history, 1942 and 1946, when the tournament was cancelled because of World War II. Other than that, it has run like clockwork every 4 years since 1930. Now, not every country just shows up. Getting to the World Cup is a battle that takes nearly 3 years on its own. The world is split into 6 regions: Europe, South America, Africa, Asia, North and Central America, and Oceania. And within each region, dozens of national teams play qualifying matches to earn one of the limited spots. Only the host nations get an automatic place. For everyone else, the road to the World Cup is long, brutal, and full of heartbreak. Some football giants have failed to qualify entirely, watching the tournament from home. Once the teams arrive, the World Cup itself runs in 2 phases. First comes the group stage, where teams are divided into small groups and everyone plays each other. The best teams from each group survive and advance. Then comes the part that makes the World Cup so dramatic, the knockout stage. From here, it's win or go home. One loss and your tournament is over. No second chances. That single elimination pressure is what produces the unforgettable moments, the last-minute goals, the penalty shootouts, the giant killings, all building toward one final match to crown the champion of the world. The World Cup has grown enormously over time. That first tournament had just 13 teams. For decades, it settled at 32. But in 2026, the tournament is making history with its biggest change ever, expanding to 48 teams and for the first time being co-hosted by 3 countries at once: the United States, Canada, and Mexico. It's the largest World Cup that has ever existed, opening the door for nations that had never qualified before to finally play on the world's biggest stage. In nearly 100 years, only 8 nations have ever won the World Cup, and here's the wild part: every single one of them comes from either Europe or South America. No team from Africa, Asia, North America, or Oceania has ever lifted the trophy. The most successful nation of all is Brazil with 5 titles, and they hold another record no one else can claim. Brazil is the only country to have played in every single World Cup ever held. Behind them sit Germany and Italy, with 4 titles each, followed by Argentina, France, Uruguay, Spain, and England. The World Cup doesn't just crown countries, it creates legends. Pelé is the only player in history to win it 3 times, beginning as a teenager in 1958. Diego Maradona almost single-handedly dragged Argentina to glory in 1986, scoring 2 of the most famous goals ever in the same match. And in 2022, Lionel Messi completed his legacy by finally lifting the trophy in what many call the greatest final ever played. These are the names the tournament made immortal, and every 4 years, a new generation arrives hoping to join them. Over the decades, the World Cup has produced staggering records. The all-time leading scorer is Germany's Miroslav Klose, with 16 goals across 4 different tournaments. France's Just Fontaine set a record that has stood for over 60 years. 13 goals in a single tournament back in 1958. And heading into 2026, France's Kylian Mbappé sits just a handful of goals away from breaking Klose's all-time record, with years of football still ahead of him. Records that once felt untouchable are suddenly within reach. So why does this one tournament capture the entire world like nothing else? Because for 1 month, every 4 years, national pride, history, and the dreams of billions all collide in a single competition. A country of millions can rise or fall on a single kick. Strangers become a family in the stands. It's not just a game, it's the closest thing the world has to a shared global heartbeat. That's the World Cup. Now you know where it came from, how it works, and why it means everything. From 13 teams in one city to 48 teams across an entire continent, the World Cup has become the greatest show on earth. So as the next champion gets ready to write their name into history, who do you think will lift the trophy? Let me know in the comments and subscribe for a new Side Note.